The most engaging, impactful, informative, and entertaining talk show ever. Get ready to hear the voices of many local, state, and national artists, musicians, comedians, pastors, athletes, and politicians. It's time for South Florida Live with Jeffrey Brown. The most engaging, impactful, informative, and entertaining talk show ever. Get ready to hear the voices of many local, state, and national artists, musicians, comedians, pastors, athletes, and politicians. It's time for South Florida Live with Jeffrey Brown.
All right, good evening, everyone, and welcome to the South Florida Live Podcast. I'm your host, Jeffrey Brown, and as we always start out, this is the day that the Lord has made. We shall rejoice and be glad in it. Hey, come on in. Let's join us tonight. Y'all, listen, it's going to be good tonight. I'm telling you, this one is going to be special tonight. We are still dealing with Domestic Violence Awareness Month, but y'all, we have someone on, a special guest tonight that not only was involved in domestic violence, they were the abuser. Yes, man of God. What? Yes, listen. And he has a powerful testimony for us tonight. So, Facebook, let's get on it. Like and share. Like and share. Those that are viewing by Facebook, those that are viewing by YouTube, please hit the share button and please hit the like button. And those that are viewing by Facebook, I need you to tag somebody. Share this broadcast, please. This needs to be heard. I believe me, greatest concerns that it has. Yes, we have one tonight. A special guest. The Lord straightened his life out for you. So, hey, we are ready. Live that way once I can. Come on. Hey, listen, those that are viewing, I need you to let me know that you're there. Everything is sounding great. Everything is sounding fine. If you're viewing us right now, please give me some love. Give me some hearts. I say good evening to you. Somebody shout back at you, boy. Say good evening to me. Thank you so much. Good evening, Lady Elaine D. Nelson. Good evening. And once again, thank you so much. You said you could make a rookie straight. Good morning, good evening, Margaret Watkins. Good evening to you. God bless you. Peace and blessings to you. Thank you for joining us on this evening. While you coming on, Dorothy Jackson, God bless you. Thank you for coming on. While you coming on, please tag someone. Please tag. I need you to please tag someone. Tag someone. Not only tag someone, everyone that just came on, I need you sharing. Hit that share button right now. Hit the share button, please. Just wanna, I just wanna see right. That's all I wanted. Tag some people. Right. So do it again. Put your Please strengthen my heart. Thank you, Lady Elaine. Thank you, Miss Walkins. Thank you, Miss Walker. I'm sorry, Walker. Thank you so much for tagging and sharing. Thank you. Come on in, y'all. Come on, tag and share. It's going to be powerful tonight. You do not want to miss this episode. Hey, listen. Yeah, we need them to straighten our life out. Again, hey, once again, thank you for those that are joining us. Thank you. Before we get started, there's an announcement I need to make. I need all of you to pay attention to this announcement because not this Friday, but the following Friday, November the 8th, there's an event that's going on. At the New Birth Baptist Church Cathedral Faith International. It's a family night. It's a family fellowship night. Just not the New Birth family, but we're inviting all our loved one, all our friends and family to join this event tonight. On that night, November 8th, it's a family movie and karaoke night. It's a family movie and karaoke night. Yes, we are underneath the stars. We're going to be out on the yard, big screen, all the sound. We got music. You got some folks going to be grabbing the mic. I think I might grab the mic. I got a song in my heart that I want to sing. I did karaoke once, and I don't know. I might try it again. Hey, listen. So we're just going out to have some fun. We got food, we got giveaways, and much, much more on that evening. It's an outdoor event. November the 8th, 6 p.m., about 6 to 10, right there at the New Birth Church, 2300 Northwest 135th Street, Miami, Florida. If you need to contact them, you can contact them at 305-685-3700. Once again, at the New Birth Baptist Church, Cathedral Faith International, 2300, or that's Bishop Victor T. Curry Boulevard, there in Miami, Florida. Please be a part of that. We're going to have fun. And the movie, check this out. The movie that we're playing, the movie that will be played that night is The Forge. If you have not watched that movie, if you have not seen The Forge, please, you need to go see that movie. Come and see it with us. We're playing it. It's a powerful, powerful, powerful movie for everyone. The brothers, you really need to see this. When we're talking about mentoring others, being mentors for the mentees and our young men, this is a great movie to inspire us, to motivate us to get started in that area. Okay, so it's The Forge on that night, November the 8th, starting at 6 p.m. It's about 10. Like I said, we got food, we got food trucks, we got fun, we got giveaways. It's going to be a blessed night. Okay, you'll want to be a part of that. Thank you so much. All right, let's do this. Hey, I am so excited. No, you not. I may need to come, Lady Elaine. You should come. Thank you. You should come. Bring some people with you. Bring some guests with you. The movie is going to be powerful. It's going to be great. It's a great movie, but we're going to have fun. We're going to have fun. We're going to have fun. That's what it's about. Just family and friends coming together. And I told somebody it's actually going to be a celebration because it's November 8th. It's after the election, and we're going to celebrate. We're going to celebrate. Y'all know what we're going to be celebrating. So let's celebrate. Come on out and celebrate with us on that night after the election. That's on Friday. Let's have a great time, y'all. Let's celebrate. Okay? Let's do that. So share that with someone. I'm going to place it on my Facebook page, on my pages later on. So share that with someone and let them know that it's a karaoke night, karaoke and movie night at New Birth Baptist Church, Cathedral Faith International, November the 8th, 6 p.m. to 10. All right. join us. Be there or be square, as they would say. Hey, once again, I'm so excited about tonight. Y'all just don't know how excited I am about tonight to have this guest with us tonight. I'm excited. I appreciate it. But y'all listen. Wow, what can I say? I'm gonna bring the doctor on, and she can introduce him to our audience. Y'all better get ready for this one. I'm telling you. Get ready for it. It's the one and only my sister, the Dr. Deborah Howard Burton. Good evening, my sister.
Good evening. Good evening for those of you who are watching us. Good evening to our host, Jeffrey Brown. We are so glad, Elder Jeffrey. Fivefold ministry, all things in one. He does things with excellence. And first of all, I'd just like to thank those of you who have been watching us for the last month, and also to give shout out and kudos to our host in order to take this subject that we don't talk about a lot, but to bring it out to the forefront for those of you to understand. So I'm excited about tonight. You know, this month is Domestic Violence Month, along with Breast Cancer Awareness Month, and we always talk about that. We forget so much about domestic violence. So I am going to give the hotline number out before we go into it. If you or anybody you know are a victim of domestic violence, you can call 1-800-799-7233. 800-799-7233. Because this is global and virtual, domestic violence might be happening maybe wherever you might be watching, but this is a number that you can get in contact with, and someone should be able to help you. But tonight, last week we talked about survivors, but tonight we're going to talk about domestic violence. And also, we know, as I said before, it happens in the pews and in the pulpit. And so we're going to talk about that. But before we go to our guests, I just want to make sure I want to touch on this, that domestic violence does affect children, and domestic violence is learned behavior. And so if you are a victim or survivor that's in a domestic violence situation and you do have children, don't think your children don't know what's going on. Because a lot of times what has happened, they will begin to think this is learned behavior, and this is where relationships develop, and then they carry it on. Most children statistically who witness or in a family that has domestic violence or some type of violence, they later on in life will go on to mimic the same thing. And so we want to be able to break the silence. And so if you do have children, especially now the law in Florida, if your children are around you when domestic violence does occur, it now becomes child abuse, and Child Protective Services will come out to the house and do an assessment. And so you want to make sure that your children are not in the situation, because a lot of times the abuser will use the children, and these are the same children sometimes that act out in school, or might even act out in Sunday school, or act out anywhere else, because they have witnessed that type of violence. And so you want to make sure, if you can, that your child does not become your protector. And that does happen a lot. A child will try to protect the mother or the father from the abuser, and then it's almost they're mimicking the roles, or they might have to take care of the mother or the survivor, or even the male who might have been abused. The children try to take on that parental role. And so just want to throw that out, that children definitely witness domestic violence, and you need to protect them, because the trauma will last them a long ways in life. And these are the same children, boy or girls, who think it's all right for a man to hit a girl, or for a girl to think it's all right for a man to do it, because that's how love is. And so just want to put that out. And we're going to go right now. We're going to talk to our guest tonight. And what I like about our guests, as we get ready to discuss this, is that it takes courage to come forth, and humility and meekness to come forth and say, this is how I was until God changed me. And so we don't want anybody, you can write all your comments, but we're going to get in and dive in it, because a lot of times we talk to the victim or survivor, but we never hear the abuser's point of view. Not making any excuses for him or her, because Mr. Brown and I have talked about that. There are males who are also victims of domestic violence. And a lot of times they don't want to come forth, because you'll say they're henpecked, your woman's just picking over you, but maybe they have been taught that they do not hit a woman back. And so what they might do is just stay right there and let this abuse occur so they don't hit her back. So we are going later on, hopefully there will be a man that will come and share his side of the story and not be judged in a judge-free zone. But we're going to bring on our pastor tonight. If he can just come on in, we're going to let him share his story. Apostle Vernon Gilliland, we're so glad that you are here tonight with us, and we are excited and ready for you to uncover and show us how God took you and changed you into the man you are, that you're making whatever happened, your testimony for other people to witness. Thank you so much, sir. So go ahead on and start.
Well, good evening, grace and peace to you and Dr. Brown, and to you, Miss Burton. I count it a privilege and an honor to have this opportunity to network with you all as you continue to raise the awareness of this demon called domestic violence. I want to also thank our sister, Lady Elaine Nelson, for thinking it not robbery to even suggest my name to Dr. Brown, because God allowed me to first share this testimony on her platform behind closed doors. And as you said, this is one of the areas that it takes not only courage, but you have to be sure and certain of your deliverance, that you can be transparent. And people don't understand that when you've been delivered, transparency comes easy. And so one of the things I like that Lady Lane, that's what I always say, that this is a platform that's a no judgment zone. And so I'm grateful that you all just would have me to come on and to share, hopefully, some nuggets and some information that may let somebody know, hey, I see myself in that situation, and there's an opportunity for me to turn it around. And so, ironically, just last week, October the 16th, me and my wife just celebrated 32 years of marriage. Yeah. And when I tell you God has graced me with a tailor-made wife that has complimented me in every aspect of life, both naturally and ministry. And so we now collectively have come to the place we use our story as an open book to others who are either young in marriage or considering marriage, to let them know that we need to be accessible to those who may be going through these struggles. So this thing called domestic violence, and I'm just gonna freelance, and if there's any specific questions, I definitely will be able to entertain them as best I can. One of the things that I realized, and I think you hit on it, the domestic violence is progressive. It starts out with just the aggressive tone. It starts out with the subtle ways that you try, or the person trying to establish control. And if the person that's on the receiving end of that is not able to identify this as a method that this person is trying to gain control on you, it can progress from being verbal to then becoming physical.
And so I'm glad you said that, because now I'm gonna ask. I know a lot of people were wondering. And so in your relationship, is that how it started? Did it start with verbal? It started with verbal.
And not to give any room to the devil, but I grew up in an area, Opelika, that was formerly known as the Triangle. And so if you're familiar with that, during the early 80s to the mid-late 90s, that was a place to be challenged. and so I think that me trying to go beyond the realm of the boundaries that my grandmother was trying to set for me, I wanted to go out there, as the older folks would say, I started smelling myself. So I wanted to go out there and taste the water and see what it tastes like. And what I now realize is that became the place where I opened that portal that allowed the enemy to infiltrate and to try and contaminate what God was trying to do in my life. And again, it's not an excuse, but being out there and being around atmospheres and lifestyles that wasn't favorable, wasn't pleasurable to see. But I've been there, from the selling dopes in the street, from the running from the police, to doing all those things, and just that mindset that I developed out in the streets, I now brought it over into my marriage, because we got married at 20 years old. We didn't know anything about marriage.
Wow.
And so in there, and I'm liking the way you did it. And so just listening to you, did you grow up in an atmosphere besides, in a family atmosphere where it was violence, or really the violence that it came from the streets, the music, the drugs, the women, the guns, whatever. Just you know, what I mean, just that is what shaped you.
Yeah, and so to answer that question, no, I didn't grow up in a violent, infested home. After my mom and dad separated, you know, God graced me and my sister at the time, and my mom, one of the best stepfathers one could ever have. And so there was no violence in the home that I mimicked, but I allowed the mentality that I had to develop to be able to survive in the streets. I brought that into the perimeters of my house. You know, that always have to be the aggressive, always have to be the survivor, always have to be the one that, you know, hey, listen, this is the way it's going to be, and that's the end of that. And so me and my wife, we got married at 20 years old, and I thank God for her mom, who went on to be with the Lord, was a very, very staunch prayer warrior. She wasn't playing the radio. And she said to me and my wife, you're not going to be laying up with that young man and y'all not married. And so out of rebellion, we just went and got married at 20 years old. Because we grown, we gonna do our thing. And because we had not had the opportunity to mature when it comes to marriage, that became the place where the downward spiral began.
And so listening. So before you all got married, were you verbally abusive to your wife, well, your girlfriend, or just happened after? Go ahead.
Well, see, here's the thing, that mentality was hidden because we was not cohabitating at the time. And so, you know, that demon that later festered itself know how to stay hidden because, you know, we go out, we hang out, you go to back to your mama's house, I go back to mama's house. So there was no opportunity to see this rage that needed to be delivered. And so once we got married and once we then moved in and once we started cohabitating, now here comes that mentality for the street. Now I'm the man. This is my house. You know, this is how it's going to be. And if it's not, then we're going to have some problems. And let me tell you something. And it's hard, even when I was on with Lady Lane Nelson, when I think about those times, how tears roll up in my eyes because the devil's intent was to cause me to abort the mandate that God had for my life. And whenever you're putting a person where they can no longer show you the love they have for you now because they're living through the eyes of fear. They're living through the eyes of, I don't know if I should say this or I should do this because I don't want that trigger to cause problems. And I heard you said earlier, even to our son, and God bless his soul, he went home to be with the Lord as well. Out of all of our 3 kids, he was the oldest, and so he saw this. And the impact it left on him, I wish I could go back and undo it. Because he saw the arguing, the putting holes in walls and breaking things in the house and all that type of stuff. Now, here's the catch. A lot of that happened when I was active in church.
And we're going to get to that. Now, I'm going to tell you, just done put, what's the bullseye? You just threw an arrow on the bullseye because I wanted to tell you that. I see Jeff. Come on, Brother Jeff. I know you itching and going on.
Yeah. Oh, wow. This is good, man. Oh, my God. So I was just sitting there thinking that had to be, I was just from your childhood to your during the journey to your 20 years old. I know you said you were in the street and you were doing some things out there before your dad passed away. What was the relationship? What was the conversation that you guys had growing up? Most that male conversation, was there a male conversation like trying to direct you of how a man's supposed to conduct himself?
Good question. and the answer to that is my mom and dad divorced while I was young. And so what I wound up realizing is for a lot of years, I harbored a lot of bitterness. I harbored a lot of anger and resentment because, I felt like the times where I knew that male figure probably would have had an impact in my life, it wasn't there. But here's the problem. My mom married one of them. I'm talking about my stepdad was the epitome of what a good stepdad should be. But because of the anger I was harboring towards my father, I didn't give him a chance to really show the impact he was trying to have. I mean, when I was younger, of course, my stepdad was like 6'6", like 300 pounds, so you ain't finna play with him too much. But as I got older and I started, smelling myself, then that rebellion spirit came in, because I felt like now I'm looking at him through the resentment that I had because my father wasn't here.
Right. So my other question is, what was the relationship with your father and your mother at that time? Did you see I know you were young, but did you see a standard set as a husband and wife, or was there some things going on that you watched or you saw that may have added in, played a part in your life?
Now, I can't say that I did see any violence or anything, because I was real young, and when I was old enough to realize that they wasn't together no more, I didn't really know how to comprehend or interpret what divorce was or what separation was. So there wasn't a whole lot of conversation about that. But I knew as me and my sister got older, Mom would often just say that just was a very challenging time for her. Now, it wasn't because of any violence or things of that nature, and we never really unpacked what those challenges consisted of. But I think the absence of his presence is what began the down spiral that really, almost literally like the prodigal son, I hit rock bottom, if you will. Because here it is at an early age, during the early 80s, and at the expense of telling what my nickname is on social media. I grew up, my nickname was Shorty, because I was smaller. And so growing up and don't repeat that. If you repeat that Facebook, I'm gonna deny that ain't my name. But I grew up in that environment, and because of all the challenges that was around, I had to develop the mindset going to survival mode. And so I had to survive. I'm in the jungle. I can't be the weakest prey. I can't, be victimized. I have to have this exterior that where, I got to survive at whatever cost. Whatever things I had to do. And my mom, she was strong about, you're not gonna disrespect the household, rightfully so. And she said what most parents used to say back then: when you get to the point you smell yourself, get on the other side of the door.
Yeah, to go.
And that's what I did, because I thought that's where I wanted to be. And let me tell you something. That was the worst, but the best thing that ever happened to me.
Yeah.
So where I literally would stay up at night just not to go to sleep, because I'm sitting outside all night long. I'm doing what I got to do to get money, not robbing nobody, but that still doesn't make it right. Doing what I had to do to survive. And so I was staying up and just, turning into this person that people that knew me was like, man, we don't even recognize you.
So that means, that's why it's so important as a young man, the decisions that we make, because that shift, I see that shift of your decision of making, like, okay, I'm out, I can do this. And once you made that decision, it took you to other areas where you develop, like you said earlier, you had to, because you were smaller, shorter, whatever. Now I can't show my weakness. I got to be that dude because man. And now, so I have to put this. I had to build this character, this person. Now, was that the building? By doing that, lingered on into your marriage once you got.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Absolutely. And I'm telling you, we went from, and we often tell people now, in the early years of our marriage, I think we were the poster children for the Ricky Lake, Geraldo, Jerry Springer, all wrapped up in one. But what I will say, before we get further in the conversation, that's why I'm so appreciative to God, because I gave my wife every reason to be justified in walking away. And her testimony to people now, as her prayer became, God, if he for me, change him. If he not, move him. Wow. And I'm a living witness that God will honor prayers when it comes from a sincere place. And so to get back, I was telling you, I was engaged in church because I had a talent, I had a gift. So because I grew up playing drums, people was more concerned about the gift than they were about
Come
my
on
character.
now.
What I could bring to the church, what I could do to enhance the church. Nobody was holding me accountable. Nobody was saying, hey, look, you ain't going to do that in here. I'll just listen. I'm just happy-go-lucky. Let me go play the drums, and I'm going right back out there to do what I want to do. And that went on for so long that I felt I developed what's called a coping mechanism. I can put on one face around the church, and then once the benediction is given, I'm back to the old way. And to the point where my wife would come to church because we got into altercations and got into physical altercations. At times she would have to come to church wearing shades, things of that nature.
Hey, let me ask you something like that. I'm glad you said it. And so when and this is so ironic, I'm glad you said that, because if members of your church knew that the abuse was going on, but they like your gift more than they like the situation, that happens a lot of times, then didn't anybody ever say anything to her? And I understand what you said, and we know the cycle of abuse is the tension building, then the honeymoon stage. I'm going to do better. I'm going to do better. Then you walk on eggshells, and it starts all over again. And that's the typical cycle of abuse. But I'm listening to you talk and say that your wife would come to church with sunglasses on because y'all just had an altercation, and nobody said anything, or she hid it enough that nobody would say anything, or did she say something to somebody?
Well, I think we both hit it because, again, I was a musician, and at the church that we were serving at that time, her family reared her up in that church.
Okay.
And so I think we both hit it because we didn't want to contaminate that perception that people had of us. But sometimes hiding it becomes the worst thing you can ever do. Because hiding it actually enables it to get even worse. And for circumstances to continue to deteriorate. And so that was a very challenging time for us. And I look back now, the late Reverend Alonzo Anderson, who was the initial pastor of the 93rd Street Community Missionary Baptist Church. At this time in our life and our marriage, I started, I was playing drums for the church. I felt like, hey, my ego's so big, y'all need me. So I ain't got to conform to all that godly stuff. Just let me come do my thing and let me get out of here. But in his elder age, in his seasoned age, he said something that many people who've come in contact with him will often quote today. He said, it's not how high you jump.
Wow.
It's how straight you walk when you come down.
Come down.
And so he was the first preacher that checked my ego. Because he said to me, our church will operate without drums if I let you come in here and mess up the house.
And so, no, it's so ironic you saying this, because I'm listening to you, and abuse went on, as you say, was verbal abuse. And I heard before you were talking about it became physical. And so she never called the police on you.
Now, let me tell you about that. I tell people God got jokes. So in one area we were living in Lake Lucerne. Now you got to be from Carol City to know what Lake Lucerne.
I know what Lake Lucerne is.
We lived in the back by the racetrack when they had the orange and white jitneys. I remember the orange and white jitney. And so we had got into altercation, and she had called the police. I said, man, look, I can't afford to go to jail. I got to get out of here. So I ran trying to get to the jitney. And so I saw a guy from the complex. I said, man, look, you got to get me to open lockers. I feel like if I get in the open locker, that's my safe area. They're going to have to find me. So he said, I got you. I'm going to take you. Not knowing Elder Brown, he said, but I gotta stop by and pick up something. I said, all right, no problem. So I'm laying back in the seat. This joker turned right back and go to the complex right across where we lived at. And my wife told the police, there you go right there. He in the car. I say, ain't this about a trip? So I wind up in handcuffs, but I'm telling you, and I'm not making light of it. Even in that stage, God still showed me grace. And I never was charged with domestic violence because I was in handcuffs. Watch this. And I was on my way to jail, and we was at a red light. And it just so happened this officer pulled up next to a very well-known local pastor, Pastor Avery Jones. And I heard them conversing, but my head was down in the back seat because I'm mad I'm going to jail. And when I looked up and I saw him, the shame that came over me was like, God, what am I doing? I mean, look at me. I'm in handcuffs and to go to jail. And I can't recall how it wound up happening, but I wound up not getting a felony charge because of the grace of God. I wound up not getting convicted, and later on in life actually working for the state of Florida with no record because God blocked that opportunity that the enemy was going to use to sabotage my destiny because of me.
Wow. And it's so ironic. And I'm glad we're talking about this because a lot of people don't understand the perspective of abuse. And I like how you're just being so transparent. It's the streets, you come to my house and ain't nobody gonna do nothing. I got this, you ain't doing this. And we always know that domestic violence is power and control. And so your wife's perspective, what did you do to say, give me another chance? Because I want people to listen to, this is how sometimes it happens with the abuser. After, she done call the police on you, God done save you with the police. And I know somebody said the grace of God, and we understand all that. But sometimes from abuser, what did you do to tell your wife, look, I'm going to change? Now, this might have been the 100th time, but I'm going to change for 101, 102, but I'm going to change.
Okay, and good question. First thing is she got to the point, she got tired of being sick and tired, and she put her foot down. And so from the abuse, it then birthed infidelity. That became a part. Okay, my house is controlled, so I'm gonna do what I want to do out here, and you ain't gonna say nothing about it. I'm just being me. So this is what it is. And we wind up being separated for 2.5 years.
Okay, hold on before you go. I'm sorry, before you go there. So what made her? I know you said separated. What was the last straw when she said you got to go? Because usually when I talk to people, especially when they're church, and I tell them your safety is my most concern. Yeah. You don't have to get a divorce, but your safety. So what is it at that 2.5 years? Did something happen where she said, "That's it. We got to leave here"?
Well, it was a combination of the abuse and the cheating. And she said, hey, look, she recognized her own value and said, look, I ain't got to be belittled like this. I ain't got to endure this. So she got our son, and I don't think our daughters had been born yet, but she got our son, and she said, listen, I'm gonna make sure I take care of my child. And so we were separated for 2.5 years. And I'm telling people the way that God will bring things full circle, because at the time the ministry that we was both worshiping at, we both established we ain't gonna be able to stay here and go to the same church. It's too much tension. So one of us gonna have to go. And so I make the initiative. I'm gonna walk away. My responsibilities as a drummer, my responsibilities as an associate minister. Let's stop here for a second.
Right here. Go ahead on, my brother.
How is it even sometimes leaving a night that you done had altercations all night long, and then going right to the pulpit trying to preach God's word? Because there was no sense of accountability. There was no sense of we got to hold you accountable, because it ain't about the gift. It's about you being repentant, that God can really get glory from your life. And so
excuse me, Apostle, and I'll listen. How if they didn't know, how could they hold you accountable? Or they knew and they just said, we just gonna let you play the drums, we're gonna let you preach. We know what you're doing. I'm trying to, because I hear you say accountability, but is it because they didn't know or they just ignored it?
Well, some knew. And I got some brothers. In fact, I called one of them the other day and I told him, after me and my wife celebrated our anniversary, I said, man, thank you, because he was one of the brothers that when things got heated, I would call him and he would hear the anger, he would hear the intensity, he would hear the rage. And him and another friend of mine who got called home, Minister Rodney Miller, they would come to where I was, and we would get in that little gray Nissan truck, and they would cause separation between me and my wife, so that way at some point de-escalation could happen. Excellent. And here's what I learned, Dr. Burton. I see you, Elder Brown. It took God showing me, in order for me to break the manual, I got to break it.
You hear the guy to my question now.
You on this high horse that you think you're invincible. So let me take my hand from you. Let me give you a glimpse on what your disobedience gonna cost you. And so it was just like a downward spiral. 2.5 years we apart, separate churches. Every now and then I would see her, my kids, and that's when people started realizing something wrong, because the manner in which my kids would embrace me as if though they had not seen me.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So people started, doing their own little Christian investigation and all that kind of stuff. So they got the picture there was something going on. But she held her ground in that 2.5 years.
Mm.
We not cohabiting, we not doing none of that until you get yourself together. And even after the separation, I still was being hard-headed.
And
So God was like, what do I have to do to get your attention?
and that's where I was about to ask you, when did your Damascus Road moment happen? When did that happen? When did God shift you from Saul to Paul, if you will? When did that happen? When did you finally he shined the light on you and knocked you down at the point where you say, "Okay, Lord, I got it now. I got it."
Okay, so sitting in my sister's living room in Opelika, me and my wife separated, and I tell people, and I'm humble to say this, I drove her into the arms of somebody else because of how I was devaluing her and how I was treating her. So she had met someone, they had a friendship, and I can't be mad at that. She was preparing to move on and establish things with this guy, and I was sitting at home, and I promise you to this day, I don't know how in the world the child will wind up being on TD Jakes. I really don't, because I know I wasn't trying to hear nothing about God at that point. But because of the providence of God, it happened to be TD Jakes was sitting up ministering at a men's conference. And this is what I heard him say. He said, "Man of God, look at this TV," as if though he was talking to me. He said, "If your marriage failed today, and even if you think the wife is responsible, I got news for you. God holds you responsible."
Oh my! No, don't freeze up now.
And I said, "What?" And he said, "Get up."
No, now, Pastor, I'm sorry, Pastor, I'm sorry, you froze up, so you need to repeat that again.
So TD Jakes,
From when he talked to you through the TV.
yeah, he said, "Man of God, look at this camera." He said, "If your marriage failed today, and even if your own account, you blaming your wife, God holds you accountable, Adam. Get up and go get your wife."
Wow.
And to this day, we share this testimony.
Wow.
I got up, left Opelika, went to where she was with the gentleman she was seeing. They was getting ready to go out of town. And that was my breaking point. I came from around the building, and they thought I was coming from a confrontational standpoint. But at that point, I ain't had no more fight left in me. So I approached this guy, and I said, "Listen, all I'm asking you to do, give me a few minutes. Now, mind you, this is still my wife, but I'm asking somebody else to give me permission to talk to my wife, because I no longer resembled the husband that she had prayed for." So at my point, I'm saying, "God, this got to be my last straw." And so even though she didn't really entertain the conversation then, it became the door open for conversation to happen.
Later on.
And it took a while, and she said to me, "Look, I'm not going through this no more." She set expectations. This is what it's gonna be. If we're gonna be together, this is what you're gonna have to do. And until these things happen, there will be no more me and you. So now the ball is in your court. What you gonna do?
Wow.
And I had to do a very intense self-evaluation. God, what's more important to me? Trying to satisfy and appease people, or me being able to embrace the blessing that you have placed in my life by this woman of God? And again, she began to pray. Both families, they was sort of caught in between, because they saw a lot of this. They saw a lot of it. They saw it, her siblings, my siblings, everybody saw this. But at this point, God said, none of them matter. Now I'm bringing y'all back to y'all. I'm bringing you all back to you can remember why I brought you all together in the first place. The covenant that I had assigned for y'all life, this is what y'all have to savage now. And I'm telling you, long story short, once God allowed us to reconcile, and I just told somebody this other day, I think it has to be at least the last 10 or 15 years. We have not had an argument. We don't always see eye to eye. But we've matured to know how to handle. Another preacher friend of mine called it intense fellowship. we matured to know that we don't handle things the way we used to have, especially now at this juncture, because of the place that God has us in ministry. We have to be ever so careful that how we live before people does not turn them off to God.
Right.
And I like the way that you said that. It's because usually when an abuser realizes he has no more control, because you didn't have any more control over her, because she was going to do whatever she wants. And that's the point where you realize that, hey, absolutely, I can't control this situation no more. So either I'm going to have to come together or I'm going to have to get myself together. And so I'm asking that because did you ever, before I got this, did you ever threaten her with the children? Because a lot of times abusers will say, if I can't have, you can't take the children. These are my children. They have to stay together. Or you just say, okay, you can go ahead on and have the children. Or did you ever threaten her? If you leave me, you know what I mean? I'm going to take the children. You can't do this. You can't do that. I'm going to control the money. You can't do that. What type of control did you have? Because I heard a lot of times you said that you hit the wall and your children saw that. And so sometimes children will try to protect them, their mother. Did your son, did he try to protect the mother or come in between you two?
Absolutely. And you hit on a couple of good points. So yeah, I did try and use that control. Okay, well, you can go, but you ain't taking my kids, that type of thing. And reality was she was in a better position to make sure they was taken care of properly. But that was just that ego, that arrogancy, wanting to say, okay, I'm gonna maintain control. And then our son, I never forget, before he passed away and before we actually reconciled, he said to my wife, he said, Mom, if you go back to him, I ain't gonna speak to you no more.
Wow.
He can remember,
yes,
the things and the images I had placed in his life. But thanks be to God, before he transitioned, he was able to see the result of the turnaround. He was able to see the result of what happens when God steps in for real. Because watch this. They had been seeing Mom and Daddy going to church, but what they were seeing didn't look like church.
Exactly. And I'm so glad you said that. And I'm glad people want to know, because we don't understand how children who witness violence, and your son was put in that position that he loved his dad, but he didn't like what his dad was doing to his mama.
Absolutely.
He loved that. And so again, the situation. So I'm just wondering that your son and your children now, with you and your wife, because we want to discuss how it affects the children. Have you ever sat down and discussed with them, we're in a better relationship, this is not how you treat your mother, God has helped us, or anything like that? Or even somebody who's witnessed it? Go ahead.
Well, our son went home to be with the Lord in 2012. So me and my wife has his son and daughter, and so we try to make sure we exemplify. In fact, our daughters always be telling me, Daddy, you always give Mama everything she wants. You always doing it. You just do it. You always take it. So I got one wives and too many wives. Mama, you always doing this with Mama. You always let her do this. And I said, listen, y'all have no idea. This is just my way of continuing to show my gratitude and me honoring the woman that God placed in my life. And she has that conversation with them, so they know. But they daughters say, Daddy, I always Mama say this, you do it. Listen, you'll understand one day by and by. So and then even with our grandkids, we try to make sure we always exemplify what a warm relationship looks like. So they said we play too much, we always playing with each other, doing crazy stuff. But it's been a role, and I tell people now we're able to talk about it because God has brought us from that place. Here's the thing I really want to get over to somebody that may be watching. And you said it earlier, Dr. Burton, that sometimes there are people sitting up in pulpits that are suffering silently.
Talk on it.
Sometimes people sitting up in the choir stand.
They
got this mask on. And I always tell people, never lose sight of who you are, trying to be who everybody else thinks you should be.
Talk on it, sir.
And because people have got so many demands on us, because we've been graced to be able to serve in certain capacities, people more committed to what service we can render then how can I help bring health and healing to your situation?
Mhm.
And I'm just grateful that God gave me and my wife this opportunity. That I don't fear people. The first time I shared this at Lady Elaine's platform, I had one of my coworkers who was in the audience, who's actually now married to Pastor Dwayne Richardson. And the next day when I got to work, she said, Gillum, she said, when your wife was talking, she said, I kept looking around and said, that ain't the Gillum we know. I said, thank you, Jesus.
Yeah.
Thank you,
Yeah.
Jesus.
Yeah. At that Damascus Road
Yes, sir.
experience.
Yes.
Now I'm gonna ask this, and Doc, you take it from here. I'm gonna ask this question. I'm gonna just take it back a little bit. On your wife end,
Uh-huh.
I know there was probably some little hesitation once you guys got back to do it, back together.
Mhm.
How long would you say it really took her to be comfortable and be all in?
It
And
took a long
what
time.
what did you do? And what did you do to try and make sure that happened? Other than just buying the gifts and stuff.
Yeah.
But what did you do?
It took a long time, and again, as a man or as adults, period, we got to be willing to take ownership.
Mhm.
It took a long time, and so I couldn't fault nobody else but myself, because there will be times where it seemed like we was almost dead. Then sometimes things I would say or things our conversation would cause, flashbacks or triggers
Mhm.
that would cause her to back up, and I couldn't fault nobody. That was my fault. I had to really keep working at it, keep digging at it, and it took a lot of forgiving, took a lot of conversation, took a lot of dialogue, took a lot of just patience. The fact that I couldn't expect it to happen overnight, because what had transpired didn't occur overnight. It was over a period of time.
Right.
And so likewise, I had to allow that same amount of measure of patience for the healing to take place. And so we would do little things like, even now to this day, I get off of work, we'll go just ride on the beach, just me and her. Because we're at this point, other than our grandson, we're empty nesters right now. And so that's one of the things that God helped us to really know. You had to really work towards that healing spot, because I can't expect her to love me 100% if she's not healed 100%.
Wow.
I had to be willing to say, hey, I was wrong. I messed up. And I think Dr. Burton said it earlier. Sometimes we hear that so much because that just sounds like the right thing to say. But after a while, if your actions don't change, I'm sorry don't mean nothing.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It has to come from a place that your actions speak to your apology. Not what comes out of your mouth.
Wow.
Your actions.
That's good.
And so I tell people now, even on my job, God had to use my wife to help teach me. Most men ain't going to agree to this. My wife had to help to teach me how to love her properly. I just said something right there.
Hey, boy, you must be feeling me, Pastor. I was getting ready to tell you to say that once again.
Listen, she had
rewind, and press play.
She had to teach me how to love her properly, because it got to the point that because of the infidelity, because of the violence, and even though I still was a drummer, there was times she had made up her mind she wouldn't go to no setting or musical with me because of the uncomfortability she had because of what I had been doing and what I had put her through. But now, let me tell you something. It's not an arrogant statement, but when the Gillums hit the room, we tell people this team Gillum right here.
And thank you so much, Apostle. It's so interesting you said that. It's because we know that you had to renew your mind.
Yes.
Because you learn everything in the street. You learn it, you bought, and that's a trauma from your father and then your stepfather, and then ain't nobody gonna tell me what to do, and then I'm gonna get married, then I'm angry. And so baggage that you bring that you have to unpack. And when you start unpacking it in front of her, this ain't the same man. Some of them dirty clothes in a clean suitcase. Yeah. And so I don't understand what's really going on. And so I'm glad that you said that she had to teach you how to love, because you also had to be willing, because now all of a sudden you don't have no more control. And so now you're not the man who you thought you were, per se. You're not the man you thought you were. So now here she is, because you also have to understand that she went through all those years, and this, of abuse. So now her self-esteem could be low.
Yeah.
For people saying, why you staying with him? You know what he's doing and why that, but because of your faith in God. And when you found out after them 2 years, she don't really need you as much as you thought that she did. Now here comes a nice looking man, looking better than, you know, and all of a sudden, now, what? You ain't taking my children with God. TD Jakes, you put right here. Give me another chance. So now I'm going to fight. But while I'm fighting for my marriage, I'm fighting for the man who I need to be in order for us to have this marriage together. And breaking down those strongholds. And that takes a lot of courage because we all disagree. And I tell people we all disagree, but we have to find a way how to disagree without putting each other down, without hitting, without calling names. And that's power. I call them target. Those are missiles that you put people down. And so I want to ask, how did you do that? Because everybody has arguments now. How do you do now? Because I'm glad you say, because trigger points, all of a sudden you do something all of a sudden bad, all of a sudden it's triggered. Now I remember when, and he say, I thought I was over that. I'm trying my best. So how do you, I know you all celebrated 13 years of marriage, because I want people to understand that you still can have disagreements, right? But you don't have to go back to where I was because I'm a changed man.
Right. And here's the thing with that, and I know people say, "Oh, that ain't factual." But yeah, I made up my mind. I would never go back to that person. Mm-hmm. And so, in addressing those things and not allowing those things to reoccur, you got to respect each other's boundaries. Mm-hmm. You got to understand. Okay, you know what? If it seems like we're not agreeing, let's step back. Let's fall back, because we don't want to give room to the enemy. Because the minute you give room to the enemy, he gonna step right in. And so we learn how to fall back. We learn how to compromise. You know, and I think every man on this live know Elder Brown, and it's not a sexist statement, but women don't like to be out talked. They gonna have the last word. And sometimes we strong-willed men like, no, you ain't gonna out talk me. But I had to learn how to shut your mouth and fall back, because sometimes we got to respect people's ability to express themselves. And, hey, look, that right there, what you doing, I love you, but that's causing a problem. That's you need to fix that.
And as women, I got it, because I'm the only women. Y'all done outnumber me. I got to sit up on my chin now. But also, as women per se, there's a way that we can say things when you know the person in order to get to them. You don't have to yell, but you can say it in a soft voice. And this is just a little nugget. And I usually have told a couple people that if for instance, if Apostle Vernon is doing something, it's the timing. And a lot of times we don't want to wait for the timing. And sometimes you do a reference point. Remember, Apostle, when you did this, well, that's how I feel when it comes onto me. So that way you have a reference point of how I'm hurting right now at that time. And so I like the way you say that women, we are expressive. That's us. We men, we pay attention to detail. You just, typically, so don't nobody come on here with the host and the apostle talking about, no. Typically, women, we want to express things, but there is a way in a relationship that we have to be able to meet each other on common ground.
And let me tell you, my wife don't forget a thing. I think she's
I would address that one.
She don't
go ahead.
We don't went left now. But go ahead.
Sometimes we be talking and she'll say, "You remember you did this back?" I say, "Man, she don't forget nothing." I was like, like what?
And
help me recall it.
Yeah, and that was the thing I was going to ask you, Apostle. Had it ever been a time where because sisters, y'all, I love y'all. Y'all know I love y'all. But was it ever a time where she may have took a jab at you just to test you?
Yeah,
whereas
of course.
She said something like, "Oh yeah, you remember, like, bruh, brought up something that from the past just to test you."
Of course, right.
Your sisters, y'all will do that.
Oh, wait, I'm gonna let you finish, Apostle. Then I'm gonna add something to the soup. Go ahead.
Yeah, and rightfully so. But I earned that jab. Again, you got to remember when you've had a mentality for so long. Yeah. Even though the healing is taking place, they want to make sure this healing is authentic. Mm-hmm. So I'm gonna hit a jab and see what your response is, because your response should be the same way it was back then, because some growth and maturity should have taken place. And so we just had a conversation about something recently. She's like, we good. We can talk about this. So we're always helping each other to push the envelope higher, because we want to make sure we don't embarrass God on this journey. So I got to say this. Man, I wish we could continue. I want to say this before I close my comments. This is why when people have had opportunity to give me the chance to preach in front of them, this is where my power comes from. My power comes from the gratitude I have.
Right.
Amen.
God did not turn
Wow.
me over
Wow.
to my sinful nature.
Amen.
Wow. Yeah.
Amen.
And so I embody the scripture when the prodigal son had hit rock bottom.
Mm-hmm.
And when he said, listen, literally, I got everything I needed was already provided for me at the home.
Yeah.
But
Right.
because I listened to the wrong influences, wrong resources, so I wound up hitting rock bottom. But here's my favorite part of that scripture. When he made up his mind to go back to the
Came to
father,
himself. Yes,
That
sir.
part.
when the father saw him a far way off,
Mhm.
see, I don't see the domestic violence, Gillum. I
Exactly.
don't see the infidelity. I don't see all the other stuff that would cause you to be disqualified for my grace.
Come on, sir.
But what I see is I see my grace and my blood.
Come on,
Come
sir.
on.
I
Come on,
see
man.
the fact that you now have the wherewithal to know you can't get past this without me.
Come on.
Amen.
And so I don't apologize for the journey, but I thank God for the grace that the journey brought.
And I thank God because you are the reason why the cross was there. Don't get me started.
Hallelujah.
Hey, hey, this my hey. Listen,
Yeah, yeah,
let's
yeah.
talk. Let's
you-
talk. Got somewhere to be. Hey,
Yeah,
we
yeah.
can roll out a
Yeah,
little
yeah,
longer.
Well,
This is
I-
good. Listen,
well,
this
actually,
is good. This is good.
Yeah. You are, and people don't understand the cross is restoration
yes.
Yeah.
Oh, my
and
God.
refreshing
My
and
God.
revival. And so for you to have gone through all you went through, and God said, not yet. When your wife wanted to leave you, he said, not yet. When you wanted to give up, he said, not yet. And so you are the reason that now people can understand that God can use anybody. And the issue becomes is we don't need to look at the past because we're all are sinners saved by the grace of God. Because some of us are on a banana peels getting ready to slide our way, and so we don't need to be sliding into. And
That's a whole
so
other conversation.
and so for
Whole
that
other
portion, when you talk about, and I'm going to use from abuser to an apostle, you have to look at that God will use what happened, even your wife, because even though you might say that she tests you, but it's not so much she tests you, it's because sometimes the baggage is still there that she has to peel off layer after layer after layer. Not so much that she might be trying to just jab at you, but I got to make sure, because the enemy say he ain't real yet, but I got to trust you enough because my fear has been broken for so long. And I see you got to get ready to go.
I know
Yeah,
you got to go. He got to go. He got to go.
On the reason that my motto is now, happy wife, happy life. I got to go pick the wife up. So
Well,
I got you.
we need that to stay happy because we need to be able to bring you back, and we don't need no more issues.
Yes,
I don't
yes.
want wife. I don't want her to be saying no, because Elder kept you too long, and no, you can't go back. So no, I understand. I just want just 30 seconds, Apostle, just 30 seconds. Just once again, bless some man or share with some man that's watching, because there are some that's on that if they're in this state to where they need to just come to the point where where they need to be, how to shift that thing, and how God's gonna bless you, because it's your grace that kept you.
yes, sir. I would say, and I think I would refer back to the word that God gave me on this past Sunday from Matthew the 16th chapter. Very familiar passage of scripture when Jesus began to ask the disciples who the people say he is, and they began to give their own account on who they thought he was, or who he was perceived to be. But in the 15th verse, he asks Simon specifically, now who do you say I am? And then the word that God gave me from that, which answers your question, Elder Brown, the word was the danger of not knowing God.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
And when you have not allowed yourself to walk in true, authentic covenant with God, you then become a conduit for the devices of the enemy to run rampant in and through your life. But it takes, you have to have the wherewithal and the humility to know as a man, the mandate that God has given us to be providers, protectors, nurturers, and all these other type of responsibilities. It only starts when we come to a place that we know I can't do it without God. Not the title, not the ecclesiastical title, not the position on the job, not the money. Watch this, not being vulgar, not the the tools below your belt.
Come on now.
It's okay.
But
It is
you
what
got to
it
be
is.
able to understand
It's okay.
that it takes to be able to do it holistically.
Right.
To be able to say, I want to bring health and strength into this covenant. And the only way I can do that, I have to be transparent and open to God, that you can use me as an instrument to be that strength that I need to be for my wife, for my kids, and for my church. Here's the order: God, family, then church.
Amen. 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 Amen.
Thank you, man. Appreciate that. Final words, Doc. Final words.
I'm just saying thank you so much. I would love to, and the host, to get you and your wife on here together to hear her perspective, to see, so that way you see how you all can come together. And I'm so glad that, because see, you had the foundation at the beginning. Christ was there at the beginning, and some people don't have that, and so they need to come to Him, go get counseling, whether some brothers or accountability. But I thank God for your testimony, and I thank God what He's doing in your life and in your ministry.
Thank you so much, Dr. Burton. Thank you, Elder Brown. Thank you, Lady Elaine Nelson, for the consideration. And I hope I was able to bless somebody that was listening tonight, and know that here it is. I close with this. I promise you, preachers said we done closed 5 times. I close with this powerful analogy that when you study Tom Brady when he was in the NFL, playing for the New England Patriots, no matter who Tom Brady's opponent was, Tom Brady entered every game with the mindset, as long as there's time on the clock, I don't care what the score looked like,
you got a chance.
I still have a chance to win. And I want to prophetically say to somebody that's watching this live tonight, the Zoom tonight, I don't care what has happened in your life up until this point, because you got breath in your body, there's still time for God to show you a miracle.
Yes, He will.
I speak the blessings upon you all and your families. I'm praying for you and your family, Elder Brown.
Yes, sir.
I just bid the peace of God upon you all, and thank you all for allowing me to share this time and space with you all.
Listen, Apostle Gilliam, thank you, man. Once again, peace and blessings to you, man. I appreciate you taking out your busy schedule, man, to be with us and share with us, because I just listen, for you to do that, it takes a lot. Just like I told the ladies, for the ladies to come on and share their journey, for a brother to come on and say, yep, it was me. It was me. I did it. Yep, I did it. But look what God is able to do. I just stay with Him, because even through all that, I'll say this, you stayed with God, and God shielded you and protected you. So blessings to you, brother. I love you, man.
Love you all.
And this is not over. You back.
You'll be back.
All right, bless you, brother. Hey, listen, y'all been locked into the South Florida Live Podcast. I told y'all this was gonna be fire on tonight. Thank you once again, Dr. Burton. Thank you for just bringing this to the forefront, and us doing this, and you doing it, and you just orchestrating this. Thank you once again. Thank you to my friend, my sister, Lady Elaine D. Nelson. Thank you for I reached out to her to find, if she can help me with getting some guests, and that she did. She's the lady. She's Miss the lady of Miami, Queen of Miami. She is, yes, she is. But I thank you. No, on the real, thank you so much, minister, evangelist, prophetess, Lady Elaine D. Nelson. Thank you so much. Songwriter, book author, and all that stuff. Thank you so much. Hey, Doc, once again, thank you. Appreciate it. We're not done. We're not done. We're not done. The Lord released me for next year. So let's get it together. Let's plan it. Let's talk about it. We're gonna do this once a month. Once a month. That's what He placed in my spirit. We're gonna do it once a month starting next year. Okay.
All right. All right. Be blessed. Thank you all. And remember that you can get help with domestic violence. We're here to keep it on the forefront. Have a wonderful evening.
All right. Hey, y'all, listen. Y'all been locked into the South Florida Livecast, and our special guest, Apostle Gilliam, was with us on tonight. Once again, I want to thank my co-host, Dr. Deborah Howard Burton, for being with me on just during this time of dealing with domestic violence, and the ones that Sabrina and Tara. Thank you so much, Ms. Thomas and Ms. Kermani. Thank you so much for joining me and sharing your testimony and sharing your journey and being so transparent with my audience. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Listen, to my viewers, thank you. I appreciate that. I love y'all. And that's an action word. There's nothing you can do about it. You can't take it back, because I know y'all love me too. Hey, listen, I need y'all to pray for me. Pray for my family. One of my closest cousins really passed away, Doreen Bowes, Parker Bowes. And this one hit me. So I need y'all to keep me lifted up in prayer. And as I always say, I'll pray for you. You pray for me. Y'all, let's watch God change things. God bless you.
Email your idea for show topics to the South Florida Live Show at gmail.com. Thank you for tuning in to South Florida Live with your host, Jeffrey Brown.